This week I have an iced Americano. I'm such a bitch when it comes to coffee. So before we even get started today, I wanted to put a disclaimer in this video. If this is something that you are struggling with, I will put in the bio here, just like a helpline that you can call. It's so fucking important to tell someone. If you carry this burden by yourself, it's gonna be way too much. And I am not a medical professional, so this video is all spiritual work that you can do in conjunction with medical attention. Tell a loved one, call a helpline, whatever it is. Without further ado, let's get into the video. Or depression, when it's light, when it's quietly in the background of what you're doing throughout the day, when it's very brush-offable, if you want to call it that, it's just you asking for some time with yourself. Now, we are stubborn as humans, and like I said, we brush it off. We think, oh, just power through, be tough, or I need to do this, this is a family member, or I need to be here for that person, this is my partner in life, or this job means the world to me, it's going to get me success, or it's going to put my kids through college, or it's going to do whatever it needs to do in order to make my life better. I'm going to continue to give myself to other people because this sadness, I just need to brush it off. It's not too bad. That's how depression starts. We normally don't even really see it. And then suddenly it turns into something extremely debilitating. The first thing that I want you to understand wholeheartedly is that it is not your fault. You are not weaker than someone else for not being able to push through it. And it is time to listen to yourself. It was time a while back, but you were good and stubborn. Me as well. And so it has brought you to a very debilitating place. Best way to move through this, in my opinion, is relationship with self. So self does not exist, but the word self does. And so I use that word to talk about the two different selves that I see within one being. The human self, the one with ego, the one that is learning. The human self is unique. The human self is personality and perception, and it changes and it flows and it's always learning, it's always growing, it's always evolving, and it dies with this world. Okay? And the human body does make up a lot of it, but let's just talk about your internal human self for a moment. Okay? Not the physical, who gives a fuck for a second? Like, let's just really just, it's a vessel, who cares? Okay? You don't have to love your car to drive it. It still gets you from A to B. You don't have to love it. You don't have to be like, that's the prettiest car ever. So let's love internal human self. And then the God self, the spiritual self, the self that is the exact same as every other being on this planet. That plant has a God self. Your partner has a God self. The person that you absolutely fucking despise in the world has a God self, okay? I say God because I see God as the energy that is the exact same in all living beings. Creation, it can be called. Universe, it can be called. It can be called spirit. It can be called source. I give not one fuck what you call it. Okay, God is just such a word that means nothing to me that I like to liken it to that, because that is something that has no real term for it. Om, if you want. But God and that energy is both like, I don't actually know what either of these things mean, so I'm gonna put them together. You know what I mean? Creating a language, if you will, that I understand for myself, and I will teach in it, and you have to understand from your gut what your language is. Does that make sense? So you have these two selves, let's call it. One dies, one is immortal. One perceives with the human body, and the other one just observes, just gets to be at peace. I see it as a child and a very chill parent. Like a very chill parent. Like your God self is like, I'm just here to tell you when you've gone a little too far in the wrong direction. And to tell you when you need to kind of come back for a second and let's have a conversation. When you don't have a relationship with self, with both selves, if these two selves are not talking to each other and you are just in one, usually the human self, because that's the one that perceives, that's the one that's going to take over. The God self will usually kind of poke you a little bit and just kind of say, hey, we need to have a meeting. We haven't been meeting recently. You missed the last 6 weeks of meetings. I don't even know where you're at anymore. I would love to check in. You know, you haven't called me, you haven't texted. Can we have a quick meeting? You know what I mean? And your human self is like, no, fuck no, I don't have time for you. I don't have time for that feeling. And it comes up as emotions. Sometimes it's even able to manifest as things that kind of fuck you over in the real world. As you keep pushing away and away from it, the world keeps throwing shit at you to get you to stop. Sit the fuck down for like a day, one fucking day. And a lot of us don't have a lot of time or privilege to just stop our lives for weeks on end. And that's not what I'm telling you to do. I'm telling you to keep up your relationship with self so that you can spend 5 minutes every morning with self, checking in with self, so that you don't have to get to this place. So how do you find God self? If you feel as a human that you are in charge of bringing yourself back to life, you will never get there. You will never be able to brush your teeth again. You can't routine yourself back into mental stability. You can wake up every Monday morning and decide today's the day I'm going to clean my room, read a book, get on that healthy it girl plan that I read about on Pinterest, and meal prep for the week. You're still depressed. Your self still needs self. You can't routine your way out of where you are. You have to go in. You have to check in. That's the only way that this gets better. And let me pause for a second. If you are so far in one direction that you cannot even hear yourself think anymore, this work will not happen. So if you need medication to bring yourself to a clear enough point that you can hear yourself think, without suicidal thoughts, I know from my personal experience, I had to get on a medication in order to even think without a suicidal thought or a panic attack. If you need to do that, then we can start our work. I just can't make this video without touching on the fact that you might need extra assistance. I've seen so many spiritual videos that only speak about the spiritual work. Well, what the fuck happens if I can't even think straight enough to do that spiritual work? Then you need fucking help, bro. Your human body is not in a place to do that spiritual work. So do what you have to do to get into a place where we can start this work. So let's say you're in a place, you're ready to build a relationship with self, or you're ready to surrender to that place. Now I'm going to pop a link to last week's video in here because I think it's going to be super helpful. Last week's video we talked about surrender. I know nothing. That's a perfect start to building relationship with self. When your human self, okay, thinks that it knows everything. I don't need that. Nothing's going to help me. Well then, where is that getting you right now? Fucking nowhere. So you need to be in a place of, I need help If you're still in a place of I can brush it off, I can push it off, I can't miss work, I can't do this, I can't do that, I have to keep going, I can't listen to that right now, I can't do if you're in that place, we can't move forward. You have to be in a place where you're fucking done, where you're fucking over it. That's why it usually takes getting to a place of suicidal thoughts to freak you out enough into surrender. For me, that was it. I brushed it off for fucking years. I did the work a little bit here and there, but I didn't do the fucking work until I was ready to die. When I was ready to die, I had nothing left but to surrender. I was so broken down that I was like, fine, fuck, it's either this or dying, so I'll give it one last shot. Why not? Like, what the fuck, you know? So I was ready to surrender. I was like, I don't trust myself anymore. I don't trust what I've learned in the world. I don't trust anything. I don't know what to believe or how to do anything, and I need so much fucking help. It's not even funny. And so I got a message, spirit, the world, the universe, I don't care where it came from. I got a message to treat myself like a sick child. My human self is sick. I'm sick. I'm sick. I had to say it 1,000,000 times. I'm sick. Could I physically go to work? Sure. But I'm sick. I can't right now. I'm sick. And you treat yourself like a sick child. Because when you're sick as an adult, you feel like, okay, a bit of Buckley's, go on with my day. But when you're sick as a child, when you're treating a sick child, you're like, you don't have to do anything. I want to feed you. I want to make sure that you're warm and comforted. I want to make sure that you have everything that you need. I love you so much. You pour into that person. So treat yourself, your human self, like a sick child. You know what also comes from that is forgiveness. When you're in that place, you forgive that child because they didn't know any better. They were just freaking out because their body was in shambles and they didn't know any better because they're learning. Forgiveness comes naturally. It's almost like there's nothing to even forgive you for. You didn't do anything wrong. You didn't know. Treat yourself like a sick child. Automatic forgiveness of self. I'm not saying that you don't deserve to apologize to the people that you hurt, but fucking forgive yourself. Now, what is taking care of me though? If I'm me, I'm this human being, who is taking care of me? Who is inherently forgiving me? Who is inherently loving me? Who is inherently wanting to make me food? Because last week I didn't want to make myself food. I fucking hated myself and I didn't want to make food. And I was too fucking tired. Who is automatically stepping in as this parental healing figure? That might take time to see, but once you do, that is God's self. People call it higher self, inner truth. There's 7 million names for it. I just call it God's self. It is your connection to everyone and everything. Every living being has this within them. Their inner healer. Connecting to this is the first step. And in order to connect to it, you have to lie down. You have to wave the white flag. You have to admit, I'm sick and I can't do this. Now, sometimes we admit that we're sick and we can't do this, and we still rely on other people outside of us to take care of us. As much as that's lovely, that's amazing, what if that person dies? What if that person relapses? What if that person struggles? Yes, absolutely, that's awesome to have a support system, but your support system has got to be internal. That is my true belief. That is my true belief. You have to have your support system be internal. That way, when we all have an internal support system, we can go ahead and support each other too. When we're getting further and further away from self, we can say, hey, Terry, check in with yourself. Check in with yourself. I love you, and I'm seeing that you didn't have coffee with yourself this morning. You didn't sit down with yourself this morning. You are trying to do too much, and you're not letting yourself take care of you. Because here's the thing, when we try to take care of everybody else, we forget about ourselves. When other people take care of us, they're forgetting about themselves. When we all forget about self, we're missing the fucking point of life. Our God self gets to have this human baby, basically. This human body, this human baby that's learning, that's growing, that's perceiving the world and such. And if we try to take care of somebody else's human baby, what the fuck happens to ours? I'm 99.999% sure that this is the whole point, is taking care of our own human being for this lifetime. When you are totally taken care of, you can just very easily love other people. But you can't take care of them. You can't hold them up. You have to point them in the right direction. You've got to say, go inwards. You've got an inner healer that you don't even know about, that you haven't even tapped into yet. No, maybe you didn't grow up with parents. Maybe you grew up with abusive parents. Maybe you've been through insane amounts of abuse. Maybe you've been through the fucking hell of a life. Because depression, sometimes it comes from straight up nothing. No fucking reason. Maybe you're just have a job that you don't like and a partner that you don't like, and you don't know any of that yet because you don't have a relationship with self. But sometimes it comes from your choice as a human being taken away from you. Maybe you've been through extreme loss. Maybe you've been abused, violated. And that just makes you feel like, I don't want to live like this. But when you admit that you are sick from this world, you're sick of it, you don't have to get up and try to make yourself a smoothie when you've been abused. Fuck that. Fuck that. Ugh, I get chills just thinking, fuck that. You don't have to smoothie your way out of this. You don't have to yoga your way out of this. You need to lie down and admit that you're sick. Wow, it's powerful. Oh. I promise you that underneath that sick child that's trying to fight off the world, that tired fucking child, is your inner mother, is your inner father that you might not have grown up with, is your inner healer, is your inner protector, is your inner source of love. And suddenly the pressure's lifted from you. And it's not magic. It's because you've forgiven yourself. You've put the pressure back in the right place. It's still on you, by the fucking way. Your job still needs you to do something. Your kids still need you. Your parents still need you. Your abuser's still out there. All of this fucked up shit. The pressure's still on you. It doesn't fucking go anywhere. But it's not on you as a human child, and you're not alone in it. And you don't have to rely on anyone outside of yourself. You're going to see how strong this inner God self is. It's the same for everyone. It's infinitely strong. It's immortal. It takes over. And your human self doesn't have to carry that weight anymore. It's not that you don't have to carry that weight. Unfortunately, I think you kind of do. It's part of your life. It's part of your path. I don't know why it's happened. I don't know why this is your life, but it's brought you here to your connection with self. We all have shit that happens in our life to bring us back to connection with self. Some worse than others. That's true. It's a human world, therefore good and bad happens, and that's true. But what's so beautiful is that when you build this relationship with self and you don't feel alone and you fall deeply, deeply in love with yourself, it doesn't take long. It's like falling in love with a baby. It's like, oh my God, this being is just so full of love and brightness and oh my God. And when you build that relationship with self, there's no going back. You might forget about it for a while. Your human self might take over a little bit, but you're gonna get better and better at catching yourself. And it's just so comfortable to move through life and all the fucked up shit that happens in life with yourself. And I've had breakdown moments where I normally would want to die. There's no way I can have one more fucking panic attack. There's no way that I can deal with this or live like this any longer. But I say to myself in that moment, not because I have to, just because it comes out, I would rather live every day I have left on this earth with myself, even if shit is being thrown at me left and right, than end my time with myself now. Because I am so in love with self, not my human body. It's just the vehicle that me and myself are driving in through this life. I would not miss an opportunity to be shotgun with myself. I don't care what happens on this plane. I do not care what happens. I just want every moment with self. I want every moment I can possibly have, because the human world is the only place where we can shape and change and evolve and have roller coasters of time and emotion. It's like watching the most exciting, insane movie you've ever seen. It's so fun. It's devastating at times. It's fucked up at times, but it's so fun to watch it with self. To know that you're never alone. Ever. That you can never leave yourself. And you get to watch life and enjoy life and ride the roller coaster of life in this body with self. So that, I feel, is the first step to moving through depression. Whether it's a depressive episode, whether you've been diagnosed or not, doesn't matter. I was never diagnosed. I say more people should treat themselves like they have depression. And that's because I feel that not as many people would turn into the stage of depression where you have the possibility of losing your life. Take a minute to sit on this. This might take fucking years to really ingrain into your being. But now that you've heard it, it starts something. It starts something. Go back and watch it again. Go back and watch it again. They always say with spiritual texts, they say read the spiritual text a million times. I'm like, I'm not that good a reader. I love you guys so much, and I'll see you in part 2, okay?